today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
A Disney cruise is no ordinary vacation. It's an adventure, a fairy tale, a dream. Step aboard and discover where favorite Disney characters meet fun for the whole family, where total rest and relaxation meet the ultimate escape and excitement, where a dream vacation meets a magical cruise. Only on Disney Cruise Line, where magic meets the sea.
Magic Expeditions will make planning your Disney cruise easy. Reach out at magicexpeditions.com.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and happy opening day to all of you and yours. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, Ashton over there, and have an interesting day. I was going to have an even more interesting day, except the guy canceled on me. But so this is pretty interesting because I can tell you when he's on. He's a nice enough guy. But he's the guy who is the lead guy. Can I say guy enough? He's the guy who's the lead guy, and he and a bunch of other guys from Stetson University wrote, you know how they do this? They write these mass letters, and it's like the 100 scientists and 100 this and 100, so about 100 people from graduates of Stetson University demanded that Stetson make some kind of statement about Pam Bondi's behavior during that hearing. And you remember, and it wasn't necessarily pretty, but it wasn't the end of the world, But for them, it was, because she, a graduate from Stetson University, and they were embarrassed, and it didn't uphold the whole thing. I found out this guy, he's got a cool name. His name is Johnny Bardeen, is the kind of the lead guy. He was interviewed. Nice guy, though. Liberal, however. And what happened is, and I normally don't do this, but I was kind of intrigued. I always like to do it just for fun if I have some extra time, which I rarely do. But I was like, I'm going to look up Johnny Bardeen. I'm going to look him up and see what he's all about. And it turns out I found his Facebook page. He's a lawyer, a good one, good guy. And there was a post kind of from February 9th about the Super Bowl halftime show, and he was making fun of Erica Kirk and people and MAGA and all this stuff. I'm like, So anyway, then I put a response to him, and then I also had reached out to his office because I wanted to interview him. And it turns out he's a nice guy. He stands by his liberal beliefs and everything else, but I was trying to figure out, how do you balance this idea that you want professional standards when you're going after like Erica Kirk, the widow of an assassinated public figure. How is that a good look for Stetson? So anyway, he agreed to come on with another person who signed the letter, and then texted me right before the show and said, I've just been called into court for an emergency motion or whatever, and I'll have to do it another time next week. And we'll see. I might lose interest, but we'll see. I'm interested in having the back and forth with him, and he agreed to come on knowing that I'm, a right-wing zealot. And so I was happy he was going to be on. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And then a little bit later on, a nice family I'm having it on at 1 o'clock. I've known him for 20 years. And golly, I guess if you've been around long enough, you do know. And they just came into my view again on an issue I'm working with regarding that hemp legislation. As you all know, I've been involved in that as a lobbyist. So I am being paid to advocate, but I would do it anyway because I think it's a terrible bill, so anti-free market and everything else. But it'll affect a lot of families, and this will be one of them. So I'll have them on at 1 o'clock. I wanted to also, this morning was a tragedy, a personal tragedy for me, because I'm having to with yet another job I have with Nyko Sports. I love these guys, but we were supposed to have a Teams meeting at 10 o'clock. So I get on, because I'm doing marketing for them. I'm working with Randy Carricker, who's a good dude too. Anyway, I have to get on the team meeting at 10 o'clock. And that should be easy enough. I'm doing it on my phone or my computer, whatever. But initially, I'm doing it on my phone because it's easier. I could be mobile and just kind of do whatever. And I've done Teams before because I had to do it in other job iterations, everything else. And so I've done Teams before. And so I'm trying to sign in. And you know how they do those things where they're like, well, we need to make sure you're not a robot. So you have to solve these puzzles. And normally, it's really not hard to solve the puzzles. It's really not. Normally, it's you like find the motorcycles, whatever, and you just click on it, and there are the motor, and it's pretty easy. They want to know that actually there's a human being touching something and thinking, even if it is really a super easy type of thing. But that should be enough. But no, Teams has this puzzle that is find the figure that creates the shadow on the other end, and push the arrow to show what the shadow represents. And I'm going, you got to be kidding me. I thought, well, this will be, I'll just click it. It'll probably let me go because that's what these robot things do. And I submitted it. It was like, nope. I'm like, okay, try again. I'm like, dink. And then they gave me another thing. And again, this is a couple of figures on one screen. Then on the other screen, there is the shadows. And so tell us what figure is causing which shadow. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I try it again. I hit the arrow to match the things. Nope. Try again. And I'm like, and I literally wound up unable to solve the puzzle. I could not get on the Teams meeting because I could not solve the puzzle. And you guys know I'm really not that stupid. So you guys got to cut me some slack here because come on, you guys know me. So that's the first time in my life I've ever not been able to solve the puzzle. So my person over at Nyko had to send me a Google camera link or something like that easily popped on. But Teams, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of the Teams meeting thing or whatever. But still, I mean, I was embarrassed. It was a shock to me. It was just incredible, but I failed. So that's just how it goes. All right. So there is something that we need to talk about. And we eventually will. And that is the reality of what exactly is the reason why there are so many people against the SAVE Act on the Democrat side, and why there was such a heinous open border, why this happened. And we've talked about it before, And it's one of those things that's very kind of hard to think that it's real. The reason behind it is real. And it's hard to imagine that there can be people who are that evil, that demonic, that terrible, and that power hungry. Because if you're like me, you try to, and I'm not always looking for the rosy side of the street, you know what I mean? But sometimes things are so awful and so terrible that you almost can't believe that it would be the case. Oh, well, that can't be true. There's no one can be that terrible of a human being. And it turns out, oh yeah, they're all over the place, and it comes from a source, not from the Jimmy Carafanos, not from anybody basically on the political right or anything. It's coming from somebody who is a journalist and writer who has just simply been an observer for a while. And finally, she goes on Facebook. I have actually the Facebook, the Facebook video, but it's on my phone, but it's not on Facebook anymore, which is even crazier. And so I'm going to, and I don't mean to kind of be, Mr. Tease here, but I'm going to let you know that I will be getting to this in the other side of 1220 because I want to kind of dig in on it. So I just want to let you know, stick around because you'll say to yourself, oh, well, I figured that. I just didn't think anybody was really going to say it, like from just the normal, average, everyday part of the culture. I normally would hear that from a politician or a commentator or a Jamie Allman on the radio, but I never thought I'd hear it from this person because it certainly, I'm not saying we don't have credibility, but when some people who are just casual observers and not political at all make an observation that we've been thinking about, it's like, okay, that's got to be true. So I'll deal with that. I do want to get to this really quickly because this is one of the reasons why the Democrats needed open borders and illegal aliens to vote for them and everything else. It's because they don't have anything. They have to fake their way through everything. And people, normal, average, everyday people despise them. And I mean, I'm talking about people who are blue-collar workers, who are regular working people who may not have gone to college or whatever, but the elites that represent the Democrat Party are off the chains, basically just making people angry. Now imagine you're at home and you're watching Jimmy Kimmel, and let's just say you're a regular person who kind of still don't really care about his political beliefs, but you're just a normal, average, everyday working guy. Maybe your wife is watching Jimmy Kimmel and you're doing something else, or maybe your husband's watching Jimmy Kimmel and you're doing something else, and you hear Jimmy Kimmel say this.
Rudy Giuliani might not be with us much longer, but don't worry, Trump's got a whole new generation of thinkers lined up, including his newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne, Chuck Mike, Bruce Dave Mullen. Maybe Mellon's better. He is the now former senator of Oklahoma. Before he was elected to the Senate, Mark Wayne Mullen was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right. We have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now.
So imagine you're a plumber, or your brother's a plumber, or your cousin's a plumber, or your husband's a plumber, and that plumber is responsible for feeding the kids, for the mortgage, for helping you, freeing you up enough to take care of the kids, whatever. Let's just say that there's a plumber in your life who you love and you're taking care of. And believe me, these are people, whether they be plumbers, electricians, whatever, who are really make up the soul of the working class of this country. And imagine hearing that. And imagine everything that statement from Jimmy Kimmel says about how these people view plumbers. Or let's just pretend people without college educations, which is another criticism of Mark Wayne Mullen because he didn't go to college. Now, keep in mind, the people making that criticism are not U.S. senators like Mark Wayne Mullen, so much for their college degrees, right? Here's a guy whose story is nothing short of amazing, because here's a guy who took over the family's plumbing business because his dad was sick. His dad couldn't do it anymore. So instead of, he dropped out of college. He just happened to be going to college in Missouri. Dropped out of college so he could take over the business and help his dad, the plumbing business, to help his dad. And he goes from doing that and that life of having to drop out of college to help the family to becoming a United States Senator from Oklahoma. Now, that's a story that most of us, most normal people, embrace. We're like, wow, what a great American tale that is. It proves that anybody can become a U.S. Senator. And that's true, because too often it used to be the end to be connected or this or that. And Mark Wayne Mullen became a U.S. Senator in spite of some of the things that you wouldn't expect. And he became a U.S. Senator. That should be a story that we all, as Americans, embrace and love. That should be a story everybody loves. But instead, what you get is this from the Jimmy Kimmels of the world, the Democrat Party, the people who are running newspapers and the media and everything else.
Before he was elected to the Senate, Mark Wayne Mullen was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right. We have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just so infuriating. And that's the reason why Americans despise the Democrat Party and the elites and everything they stand for. And the sooner we erase them from the political American vernacular, the better off we're going to be. And we just might be able to do that now that we have their main voting bloc sitting with deportation orders. All that's coming up here on the Allman Report on News Talk STL. It's Common Sense Radio and the 3 Martini Lunch.
Think about those sunsets that bled into jean jacket nights, those tangled up mornings lost in paradise, still drunk on the feeling when I close my eyes. You're pulling me closer, your head on my shoulder. We never let go and we never be over. If I could buy a house on memory lane, I wouldn't have to wonder if you miss me the same. I'd be loving you as usual, telling you you're beautiful. Oh, I'd be happily delusional.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
place to talk. News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, I have, and Ashlyn's probably like, this must be the mythical trout dip, because I got some trout dip for your grandma and you guys when I went to Stars, and so I keep forgetting to bring it in. But that's just one thing I love about Stars is the trout dip. And you guys planning your weekend, doing whatever you're going to do, enjoying the great weather. Maybe you're sitting on the patio for once, whatever. Now is the time to go ahead, buy Stars. It's right off of 40 on Big Bend. Really super easy to get to in Richmond Heights there. And stock up on not only the trout dip, but also all of the olive selections and the gourmet crackers and the amazing cheeses and, of course, the fresh fish flown in every single week from both coasts. So you're getting grouper and red snapper, and it is fresh, fresh, fresh. It's not like some of that fish you see sitting in the cases and you're wondering, like, how long has that been there? But no, these are pure as the driven snow, and you're going to love the freshness of the fish from Stars. Now, also, That is your liquor depot. So you don't have to go a bunch of different places for all this. This is just one place, one-stop party shopping at Stars. They have some of the best gourmet beers you're going to find anywhere. So you're not going to find some of this beer at even a liquor store around you. And also the great choice, this is where I get my Hendrick's gin, the choice of gins, vodkas, whiskeys, tequilas, rums, you name it, Stars has it. And the other day, I wanted to get a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, and I did the Bud Star test that I always do, and he always does what I say he's doing. And I say, hey, I want a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. I really don't want it expensive. He says, what do you want to spend? I said, well, but I don't know, $15, $14. And he gives me a $13 bottle of Sauvignon Blanc that is absolutely just excellent and was great. And so he's not going to sit there and try to upcharge you whatever. There are some people who go right in and they want to zero in on the $60 bottle of wine. Whatever, you can do that. They have them there, for crying out loud. But if you want just something simple, smart, you're going to drink it on ice or something outside, he's got it for you, and you're not spending a ton of money. And he's a great guy, too. His dad was the editor of the old Globe Democrat, so you know he's one of us. Stars, right off of 40 on Big Bend in Richmond Heights. Stars spelled S-T-A-R-R-S.
Think you're just getting older? Stiff in the morning, low energy, aches that weren't there 5 years ago? Maybe. Or maybe it's your mattress. At Snooze Mattress and Wellness, we're locally owned and family owned, and we use advanced sleep technology to measure your pressure points and match you to the right mattress for your body. No fake sales, no guessing, no pressure. Just honest guidance and better sleep. Snooze Mattress and Wellness in Chesterfield. Sleep restored, life renewed.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Mark Schmitz, father of Jared Schmitz, the founder of the freedom13.org.
We've met with Trump now, I think it's 6 times. Trump has been fantastic. What you see on TV is what you get in real life. I mean, we spent 6 hours at private dinner with him. It wasn't stuffy. It wasn't uncomfortable. It literally felt like you were at your Uncle Bob's backyard barbecue, but he knew information about my son.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
When I have business clients or guests from out of town, I often take them to Cafe Napoli. I know they're going to enjoy any of the Napoli locations. Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, next to Napoli C, Napoli Kirkwood, or Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Excellent food and intellectual conversation, if they bring the intellectual conversation. And NapoliSTL.com. NapoliSTL.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
When Trump took office, he had declared the U.S. will not fund, sponsor, promote, nor support any transition of a child from one gender to another. And immediately some Democrats, mostly the loony fringe, fought back, asking courts protect sex changes for children. So if a boy child wants to be a girl child, they should be able to trans. And parents of such confused kids were persuaded if you don't let your kids have their way, they could become suicidal. Of course, many who did undergo surgery and puberty blockers became suicidal, even homicidal. But I have a question. Lately, are you hearing more or less about trans kids? One study found 90% of kids who did want transsexual surgery just stopped wanting it. All of this is too late for some. But if kids decide for themselves, yeah, this is just a trend, a fad, I don't know, something like maybe bell-bottom jeans, I'm no longer interested. So the question now is sanity slowly being restored and our children being protected?
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL. What happens next?
No nuclear bomb, no nuclear weapon, not even close to it.
Happens right here.
Low key on the missiles. We want to see peace in the Middle East.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Gemini Wealth Group.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy opening day to all of you and yours. Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. The 3 martini lunch. Hey, my people, I have not been able to see your comments. Like right now, well, before I figured it out, I had to do it differently, so I had to put the comments up on the screen so I could see them, because there's a sidebar where there are comments, and I could not see those comments on the sidebar. So I had to put them up on the screen, which means I have to look at myself closer, which I don't want to do, but I can see your comments now. And thank you. Oh, but when I put them up, this always happens, because you can always tell when a left wing or a Democrat comments on the page. You can always tell when I have said something that they know is true, and they get so angry and so vicious and don't have anything else to say but that, what about Donald Trump, that pedo, that thing, even though that's completely not true. But these kinds of people, your fellow citizens, garbage men like this Cat Stew person who was on the thing, and we'll block him eventually, because I don't want any of my real estate devoted to a scumbag. But boy, they get so angry. It's the only time they kind of come out of the woodwork, especially when they know you have knifed them appropriately. And this was in response to the plumber guy. This guy is, if you can imagine, you're living among people who think plumbers are not worthy to hold cabinet positions or positions of authority or administrative position. And of course, because these people are suffering so much from their low IQs, because they're robots, really. They were raised that way. They're all a bunch of racist, mediocre robots. And so they can't imagine this, and they have to know that the DHS secretary is not a law enforcement position. It's an administrative position. That's why Markwayne Mullin was chosen to do this. You don't have to know anything necessarily, even about making an arrest, to be the DHS secretary. You just don't. And these people know it, and they have to come to the defense of Jimmy Kimmel over a guy who Jimmy Kimmel couldn't shine his shoes the way this individual has been able, Markwayne Mullin has achieved. And of course, these people are the same kind of people who believe that you're not worthy if you didn't go to college, or if you're just a measly plumber or what have you. You want to see some really great plumbers, by the way, go to Grasser Home Services, just GrasserElectric.com. So you're wondering then, with all the awfulness you're seeing on the internet and these awful people who are defending awful illegal aliens and criminals and just bad people. And you wonder, like, even when you hear Hakeem Jeffries, you wonder how do these people get elected? Like, how does the Democrat Party even have any closeness to a majority or whatever? How do you keep voting for these people? How did Joe Biden get elected? Well, he didn't, but you know what I mean. How did he get even to the point where you could make some kind of plausible, even though it was a lie? How do you get to the point where he even had enough votes? Well, we know why. Because the Democrat Party, their main voting bloc would be illegal aliens. And I'll give you an example of who the Democrats are protecting right now. Mary Miller, who is a congresswoman, she's actually a congresswoman from Illinois, and you've heard her before. And she pointed out these two latest cases, and they're really awful cases. And some of these cases are more or smaller cases, but these are the bigger ones, and that involves a illegal alien killer of Katie Abraham, who came into the U.S. with full-blown AIDS. And the other one came in with tuberculosis, and that's Sheridan Gorman's killer in Chicago at Loyola. The last court date he missed because he was being treated by taxpayer-funded doctors.
Illegals that have brought diseases across the border. Katie Abraham's killer, illegal alien, had full-blown AIDS when he came over the border. And now we know that the killer of Sheridan Gorman has tuberculosis. And he actually didn't show up to his hearing because he was getting medical care, which cost almost $30,000 for him, paid for by taxpayers.
So it turns out, if you really look right into it and you realize what's going on here, is there might have been some organic border crossings and that kind of thing. But a lot of these people, especially the Venezuelans, were sent here. They were sent here by Maduro. They were sent here, and they were also trafficked here by liberal NGOs, organizations, including, by the way, Catholic Charities, sorry to break the news, and by the Democrat Party. So the Democrat Party has been responsible over the last 5 years for one of the largest human trafficking scams on the planet. They are no doubt tied to the cartels. There's no doubt that Soros money is attached to this trafficking. And there's no doubt about the purpose of the human trafficking. We've talked to Jim Carafano about this before, and he is absolutely right on about the fact that you're in a situation where, this is crazy. It's all to bring in voters. In the meantime, then, there is a woman who has been a journalist for a while. She's just a normal, average, everyday person who has written books and that kind of thing. And I want to play this for you because she has come to this conclusion that this is like a real thing. She's come to the conclusion, and this is not a political person. She's a writer and a journalist. She's written a couple books, and she's doing this interview because she's finally kind of speaking out. And for the life of me, I looked her up and everything else, and come hell or high water, I can't recall her name, but I will. But she's just she's a libertarian by identification. And this is what she had to say about what she finally has come to the conclusion about what this trafficking was all about, why the border was so blatantly left open by Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. And this was all a plan.
Deliberately inviting masses of foreigners into the country because they wanted to grow little Democrats and create a one-party state. I've started to come around to that view. Before Trump effectively closed the southern border, I imagined a lot of it was incompetence and fecklessness. Now, there may be an element of that, but I think it was more intentional. The Biden administration opened that border on purpose and shipped people all over the country, wherever they wanted to go. They put illegal migrants with no ID onto commercial airplanes with regular passengers who all have to have, an impeccable national ID. I mean, it's just, there is design behind it. And I don't have any other theory aside from this pathological passion for minorities and a weird notion that people who are non-white are superior. I don't see any other reason for inviting so many people in, especially because, on the one hand, the left talks about, oh, we need these people economically. We have this aging age structure, and, Social Security's imperiled, and Medicare costs too much, and we need young people to fill out the workforce. But then, they support family reunification, which means these people can bring in their parents, right? I mean, so much for improving the age structure. I resisted for a long time this notion that Democrats.
So that is, and this is the example that you need to pay attention to, because she hits on something that is really super important here, because it's not only the political class that organized the human trafficking for electoral stability and for free electoral votes and that kind of thing. It was also our institutions, our cultural institutions, universities, and all of those NGOs and everything else, who really truly were hell-bent on replacement of mostly white people. Black people were shoved into that bin too. I've maintained all along that blacks have probably suffered more greatly at the hands of the illegal alien trafficking than probably anybody in the United States of America. So you not only had the election interest of the Democrat Party, you had the cultural interest of the institutions, and you had the businesses who were able to hire them. She talked about people getting on planes with no IDs. Why do you think that the trucking companies, as well as the states, because you do not get a CDL license without the cooperation of the Department of Motor Vehicles, and you don't get a CDL for semi-truck driving licenses that has no name on it, which is what a lot of these illegal aliens are holding, IDs that say no name. That only happens with the cooperation of governmental authorities and the business community as well. The trucking companies, and I complained about this yesterday, and it is true. The trucking companies, I'm shocked, even with the Trump administration part of it. And I'm hoping Mark Wayne Mullin and some of these other people get after it here, because we had that fiery crash I told you about on 44 on the 17th of March on St. Patrick's Day, and it was some Indian dude who could not speak English. And we don't know, I haven't heard hide nor hair about what's happened with that CDL or whatever. But this doesn't I'm hoping they prosecute these trucking companies. But so far, I haven't seen one trucking company prosecuted for hiring an illegal alien who doesn't read or write in English and killed people. So there's something wrong here. But basically, going back to what this author said, this is all by design. It's all by organization. It's all by design. And it is designed to snuff out white people in America and black people in America as a visible and strong part of the United States of America. The Democrat Party, because when we think about it, we're like, why would the Democrat Party be defending these terrible people? Why would you also then demand that ICE agents do all this kind of stuff, like not wear masks and do to this when you're wanting to defund them? Like, what are you doing? Like, why do you keep on moving the goalpost and shuffling around and all this kind of stuff? And there's no real. Why do you think they don't want people to have an ID to vote when 90% of the United States of America agrees that people should have an ID to vote. Why do you think the Democrat Party is fighting that so hard? You have to either be unusually really stupid and a traitor to this country, or you just have to be a basic Democrat who is used to this stuff and it came up with all this stuff and had this by design. This had been planned for a long, long time. And, of course, COVID helped a little bit because it served to dampen the souls of America and deplete the souls of Americans. And most of this stuff was all really drummed up right then and there. We had some of the largest influxes of illegal aliens during COVID, right after 2020. So you guys know what's been going on here, and I don't know what the resolution is here, but the fact of the matter is that we know why the Democrats are behaving in a manner that is almost impossible to explain. It's almost impossible to explain. It's indefensible. And given the fact that there are so few people even remotely interested in the trying to fight the SAVE Act when the only people against it are at the Capitol. It's crazy. But anyway, that's what's been happening, and that's why everybody is freaked out over the deportations and everything else, because President Trump, you know, he was right all the time. This is true. When he said that these people are poisoning the water, I would take it even further. They've been poisoning the blood of America, and our culture is now a shadow of what it used to be, but it's coming back thanks to Trump, which is also why the Democrats hate him so viscerally. And why you get people popping on the Facebook page because they're having a temper tantrum because Jamie Allman is telling the truth about who they are, what they are, and what they're up to. So that's how it goes, my friends. So the Iranian Navy chief has been offed, apparently. He was the guy standing in the way of all the ships in the Strait of Hormuz, but now he's dead. So we'll give you an update on all of that. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill. Man, I got to tell you, it is really just incredible what Harry Parker has done over the past, 20 plus years that I have known him. Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill, St. Peter's, as well as the original restaurant there on Olive. Today would be a beautiful day to hang out on the Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill patios. Maybe have a hurricane and some gator bites or whatever it is you want. And he's got some Cajun calamari or the fish tacos. You can have the fish, red snapper, grouper, whatever, shrimp, whatever you want. You can have it blackened. You can have it just simply plain, or you can have it Cajun spice, whatever you want. These fish tacos are delicious, and the portions are great, generous, and all of the food is built from the hands of Harry Parker and all the people there who are trained in the recipes of Harry Parker's mom and dad down there in Nolens. So he brings it all the way up from Nolens. All the fish is cut by hand. Everything is, the sauces are made from scratch. The spices are there as well, and it just is an amazing experience. The people who work at Gulf Shores, I always told Harry this, the people who work at Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill are really super happy, and you know how that translates to a great experience when you are going out, and so you can count on them being happy campers for you at Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill because Harry takes care of them. So he takes good care of them, and they're happy. That's his vibe. Also, always stepping up for our veterans and for our law enforcement. Just a great guy. Also, don't forget you can hire out the food truck. Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill.com. You can find information on getting that food truck to your place or your party or whatever it happens to be. It's Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill, Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill.com.
Cardinal Nation, it's time to paint the town red.
Opening day of Cardinal baseball at Busch Stadium.
And there's nothing else like it.
It's a St. Louis tradition.
Two things define St. Louis: Cardinal baseball and News Talk STL. Play ball! Cardinal baseball opening day, March 26th. Backed by our hometown favorites, Best Buy Flooring, Jim and I Wealth Management, and Whistle Pig Outdoors.
Cardinal baseball.
When water troubles strike, call the family you can trust. Tim Jones here for Ambassador Plumbing, serving our community since 2018 with 25 years of master plumbing expertise from Tim Morris and his hand-picked team. Whether it's a simple faucet repair or a complete bathroom remodel, if water runs to it or through it, they do it. From residential service calls to commercial to new construction, the folks at Ambassador are your neighbors treating you like family. Ambassador Plumbing, where faith meets craftsmanship. 636-383-6932 or ambassadorplumbing.com. That's ambassadorplumbing.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Columbo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Clayton Sleep Institute.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's opening day, ladies and gents. Game time, 3:15 there at Busch Stadium. I could probably make it if you guys have any tickets for me. You have any tickets for me? Do you? One thing I don't appreciate is the fact that, you know, they have the standings already printed, right? So the Major League standings, they start them up. But how come the Cubs are in first place? Like, we haven't played a game yet, right? But here is the order in the Central Division of the National League. Cubs, Reds, Brewers, Pirates, and the Cardinals are in last place before we even start. And can somebody tell me? Maybe you can if you're smarter. The Cubs weren't in first place last year at the end of the season, were they? I don't even remember. Let's see. The Dodgers, did they win the World Series? I can't remember. Yeah, they did, right? I was glad. I like the Dodgers. But they're the best team money can buy, right? That's just the way it is. The Dodgers are in third place. So how is that a thing? Since they're the reigning champions, I believe. I love baseball, but it's amazing how little I know about it, right? Like who won what happened. Did they win last year? They did. The Dodgers won the World Series last year, and they're starting the season in third place. So who did that? Like, who came up with that thing? I have no idea. Oh, I love this. President Trump decided he was going to call out the well, you know what? It's like, I love how the liberals, whenever President Trump talks about the Supreme Court justices he doesn't like, they're like, well, whatever happened to decorum? He's going, oh, off on he's breaking tradition. It's like, no, Obama did that. During his State of the Union address, the Citizens United vote. Remember that one? And he sat there from his podium and scolded the Supreme Court. So that was the end of that. And President Trump, you can let her rip.
And the Supreme Court, that's right, of the United States cost our country, all they needed was a sentence. Our country, hundreds of billions of dollars, and they couldn't care less. They couldn't care less. And not that it matters, doesn't matter at all. But two of the people that voted for that, I appointed. And they sicken me. They sicken me because they're bad for our country. We need a tough new crime bill.
Yeah. So what he's referring to, of course, is the tariff decision. And the two he's referring to are Amy Coney Barrett and Neil Gorsuch. Barrett is, wow, what a waste of space. I guess presumably because she was Little Miss Pro-Life that she somehow was able to be the nominee. And, you know, it's maybe that's the reason. But nonetheless, I mean, she was the one who was part of the decision after a California case that reaffirmed California's ban on choirs singing at church during COVID. If you could believe that, that's how bad Amy Coney Barrett is. Well, Christopher raises an interesting. Well, no, he says, are the standings for MLB alphabetized by city names? Well, not really, because I just mentioned the Cubs are in first place and the Cardinals are in last place before the games even begin, and those two are C's. So you've got the Cubs, C, the Reds, R, the Brewers, B, the Pirates, P, the Cardinals, C. So that's they're not out. It's not. I thought maybe that would be a great answer if they were based on in alphabetical order, but they're not. So I want to know who was the wiseacre behind the placement and the placement of the Dodgers in third place. It's just kind of crazy. But I'm kind of thinking since the game is. The game is at 3:15. I think I could probably swing that, you know. But you know what? Here's the thing. I don't want to go to the game because you know what's going to happen? I'll miss Columbo and Company. And I don't want to do that. And then I'll miss, you know, the Tim Jones and Christopher Arp show. And I just don't think that that's something I'm willing to give up to spend a day outside in the sunshine drinking beer watching the Cardinals. I just don't want to do that. Oh, city name. Okay, Christopher. Well, listen, I'll go over that in the break because now I'm really intrigued. So yeah, okay. So Christopher says maybe it's the city name, not the team name. Okay, I'll figure that out.
State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL. Hear all the behind-the-scenes stories about what the State Freedom Caucus is doing across the country, directly from the legislators and the people that are doing it. State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, this Sunday night at 7 with your host, Tim Jones. State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, now Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
JC's Wayback Machine.
This week we recognize the 43rd anniversary of the release of the ZZ Top Eliminator album, along with a surprising St. Louis connection. Plus my review of the new Ryan Gosling movie, Project Hail Mary. And our A-list interview is with Phil Collins, who tells the backstory of the naming of his album, No Jacket Required. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
Dozens of out-of-state law firms are crashing into St. Louis trying to get your business. My advice, rely on a hometown firm. Under Law has been here for years. There are lawyers raising their families right alongside yours. And when you're injured by someone's careless actions, you are entitled to full compensation. You want lawyers who will not bend to big insurance, but will stand defiantly protecting you. Under Law, O-N-D-E-R, underlaw.com. Under wins.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump issuing a new warning to Iran.
The president wrote on his social media site that Iranian negotiators better get serious soon before it's too late. If they don't, he said, there's no turning back and it won't be pretty. The president described the negotiators as very different and strange, insisting that Iran is begging the U.S. to make a deal ending the war. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Meanwhile, the British Prime Minister today is saying that Iran and Russia are working in cahoots as a way to help Russia get some of its oil.
So we estimate it would take approximately 40.
That is why, in my strong view, we should go after the Shadow Fleet even harder. These old, dilapidated ships carry 75% of Russia's oil, and they are helping to fund Putin's war.
President Trump, again, issuing a new warning to Iran. And during a cabinet meeting today, he said Iran knows that really it has no choice but to negotiate an end to the war.
So we estimate it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission. 26 days in, we're really a lot ahead of schedule. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise.
Pressure is mounting on Congress to end the funding shutdown involving the Department of Homeland Security. TSA union head Everett Kelly says workers can't live on rhetoric.
We've been hearing about progress and optimism for weeks. Our members cannot eat optimism. They cannot pay rent with progress. They need a paycheck.
And all of the lack of pay and some of the morale problems causing TSA agents to call in and not go to work, and that could lead to the closure of some airports. More from townhall.com.
Hey, I'm Kirk Cameron. Is health insurance eating up your budget for 2026? If you're looking for ways to better steward your finances, consider this. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a health insurance alternative at half the cost. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. While insurance companies tell you when to join, what to pay, and where to go, CHM is different. As a ministry, CHM allows you to share the burden of medical bills with other Christians. You can enroll, switch programs, or leave at any time. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a world of difference. CHM has 4 flexible programs. You can pick any certified doctor, surgeon, or hospital that you want for eligible care. So make the switch. Take your paycheck back from health insurance this year. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Feels like a midsummer day out there with temperatures reaching into the low to mid-90s. I have 93 as the forecast high, which would shatter the old record high of 87 degrees. We do have showers and thunderstorms in the forecast overnight, but they'll hold off until well after the game, moving in after 9 or 10 o'clock this evening, especially as we get toward midnight and the late night hours. And some of those storms could be severe, with hail the primary risk. Tomorrow, breezy and much cooler, temperatures in the mid-50s. In the First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free and home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester of McKnight in Rock Hill.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It is the 3 Martini lunch, my friends. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie here and Ashlyn right over there. And the Allman Report has conducted a full-scale investigation into the standings that are listed before the game begins. And the investigation didn't take long because Chris Slater on the Facebook page said, "Hey, is it by alphabetical order?" And I'm like, "Well, it doesn't look like it because the Cubs and the Cardinals are." It turns out it's the city, dummy. It's by city, and so it turns out indeed it is by city, and that's how the Dodgers wound up in 3rd place starting the season as opposed to 1st place starting the season. They just think about this stuff, and turns out it was a wise decision, but just our luck. St. Louis S last place, so not the greatest omen. 3:15 is game time, and it's the Tampa Bay Rays that we're going to be playing. So it should be fun. Beautiful day to be at the ballpark. Also, all right. So you guys know I'm working on, because I'm a registered lobbyist in the state of Missouri. And I have the honor of working with the great Holly Rader, who is a former state senator. And so I've been partnering with her on a couple of issues that you heard me talk about. And there's a really bad bill floating around the Missouri Capitol. And thankfully, there are people who are finally starting to kind of realize, yeah, this is pretty bad. This ignores a lot of really good people, small business people, and people who need, for instance, CBD drinks or what have you for their cancer, for the multiple sclerosis, for their headaches, their migraines. I know Rick Pogue's wife, Heather, it really does need that and has used it. And so this bill basically, which is fronted by the dispensary syndicate, I voted for this. I was okay with all that, but I did not vote for a monopoly. These guys are printing money as it is, but apparently that's not enough. And so they want to basically just get rid of all the hemp producers in Missouri outside of the dispensaries. I guess presumably you could put it through the dispensary, but the reality is there are a lot of people who will be put out of business, a lot of people in small towns who will no longer have easy access to CBD oils and everything else. And believe me, A lot of these people are older people and have found that the pharmaceuticals that are being shoved down their throats by doctors are not working for them. So it's a really important, holistic issue aside from being a small business issue. So throughout this process, I've had the pleasure of meeting some really great people and also being reunited with some really great people. Kara and John Grady, I had no idea. I first met them, it was 2008, I think Kara reminded me, because I was doing the morning show, and we all collectively prayed for Kara's son. And Kara and John, welcome to the program. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Jamie. Thank you for having us on. We appreciate this time.
Oh, no.
Thanks for having us, Jamie.
No problem at all. And so tell me, first of all, let's go back to 2008 at that particular time, and then ultimately what happened, and ultimately how you all were able to find a solution to your son, who at the time was suffering from a brain tumor.
Our son, Charles, he had been going through chemo several different times. We had was going through fifth protocol. We get a phone call stating that the chemo wasn't working and that we were going to have to do something else. And we had been dabbling with the idea of trying cannabinoid therapy, but we didn't really want to go that far just yet. And when we found out that this was another chemo schedule thing, we decided, let's try cannabis. We flew that night to Colorado because we did not have a medical program at the time, and we brought back oil for him. And during that was the first time we ever saw shrinkage in his tumors.
And it was 6 years after the first diagnosis in 2008. He was diagnosed in 2008. And we went through these protocols that are year and a half long protocols until 2014, what Kara was talking about. We ended up going to Colorado to start working with cannabinoid therapies to help him out.
Wow. And so then the hemp products started to kind of make its way into the family in a different way as well. John is one of our esteemed veterans and had been in the throes of PTSD. And John, eventually what happened is you went into an alternative treatment that had nothing to do with kind of the opioids and the things that the VA was trying to shove down your throat. And so you turned to CBD as well, correct?
Yes, I sat there, and after working with our son for the longest time, the VA wanted to increase my opiate dose, and I said I was getting addicted, and they said, no, you just need a higher dose. I decided to go cold turkey. It was the worst 3 weeks of my life until a friend of mine reminded me, hey, with your son, you work with cannabis. Why don't you do it for yourself? So I started really looking at cannabis to actually treat the pain, treat the stuff they had me on for SSRIs with PTSD and everything I was dealing with. Because I dealt with 2 tours to Iraq. My second tour, I came back into Hurricane Katrina on the Gulf Coast where we lived. Then 2 years later, we moved back to Missouri, and that's when our son got diagnosed with a brain tumor. So I had been dealing with a lot of that stuff that I just never dealt with accordingly. And I trusted the VA to give me stuff. And I went to the VA because Obamacare took away the one med that was working and forced me into that VA system.
Yeah.
And so that's how we got into that side.
Right. And then so then we take it another further. There's a third prong to all this. And then you and Kara then created a business that currently is thriving there in Rosebud. Tell me about that.
Yes, we decided let's show how important this plant is. We are located in Highway 50 in Rosebud, and we showcase the whole entire plant. We have a small selection of our CBD products that we have, but we also show clothing, shoes, body care. We have products for nutrition like hemp protein and snack foods. We just want to show that what one plant is capable of, and not many people realize, what this plant can do. And we like when kids come in, we give them a hemp plastic cup. It's a paper bag, and saying, hey, this plant grows in 4 months, and look how many products it can produce. So it is important, not just for the medical side of it, but just for society to see. And hey, one plant can provide clothing, shelter, food and medicine. So it's why aren't we looking at it
Right.
more?
And the bad bill you're talking about, Jamie, like Kara said, we are a general store. We sell chicken feed. Our chicken feed becomes illegal with this bill.
Yeah.
One of the topicals we make is a full spectrum. Nobody's using it, ingesting it to get high or anything, and it becomes illegal.
Unbelievable. And that's where, when Kara and John, you guys just mentioned all the different ways this one plant is providing for so many people and providing a platform for so many businesses and solving so many problems. When you mention all those things, it's like, well, no wonder all the big guys want to bury it, so they're the only ones around. And it's weird because the dispensaries have almost now become like big pharma. Like they want to just knock everybody out and just be and have it all to themselves. And man, that's super hurtful.
It is, and what's aggravating is that marijuana gives all these scare tactics. They want to say that all of us that are in the hemp industry are giving moldy weed, and we don't test our products. We actually have a beverage, a salve, and tinctures that we produce ourselves, and we send our stuff off. We can show you without a doubt what's in the products that you're ingesting or putting on your skin. And it's crazy that marijuana wants to force people into a dispensary, not giving them a choice. This is a road that both we can share. People should have a choice where they buy their products and not being forced into a dispensary where, one, you give up your ID, they track you. You can't tell me they're not tracking you because they have to, in a sense, to see how much, allotment that you're allotted. I think, especially talking about the medical card, you're only allowed so much. So once you pass that, you can't go recreational. Once you're done, you're done. And so we make sure that people that take our products are 21. It's important to us. We don't have products that are appealing to children. That is not what we do, and that's not what we condone. It's a road that everyone should be able to share, not just being, a monopoly.
Yeah, I think there was this illusion that somehow, I think initially they were trying to put it out there that all these kids were getting a hold of this stuff and all that nonsense, and that just does not bear out in anything anecdotally or in experience regarding law enforcement. None of that really is bearing out. So that was not determined to be a real factor, even though they used it as the excuse to formulate the bill.
Well, the real factor, Jamie, it's never been about the kids, and we'll see, because the marijuana industry is now selling federally legal, legitimate, licensed businesses in St. Louis and Kansas City for attacking their profits. So we know it's not about the kids. They came right out and said it right clear as day in their lawsuit. It's about lost profits.
Yeah. And on top of that, and I guess I kind of knew this, but, when I went ahead and voted yes, I kind of did it with the knowledge that there was no way I was ever going to have a dispensary. It was only people, and really the people that got the dispensary licenses were only politically connected people for the most part. They were people who knew somebody somewhere. I guarantee you there's not one organically produced dispensary owner in this state. And that makes this attempt even more egregious because they're basically putting the lives, the business lives, and even indeed the health of certain people all in jeopardy. People who don't have the resources that these people have to have achieved their dispensary license.
And that's aggravating because we're actually we got into the farming side of it. We are USDA licensed hemp growers. We're not even able to grow this year because of Mitch McConnell's debacle. That's just kind of what also got the ball rolling with us. We actually went to D.C. to help fight for an extension. This is not just for us, but for everybody to be able to sell these products that are at least past November 12th that people, can use. Not many people know what's really getting ready to happen. And thank you for bringing this attention on your show, because there's a lot of people that come into our store that, I didn't know that was happening. And we actually have people buy things in bulk because they're afraid they're not going to be able to get these products and they're forced into a dispensary, and they don't want to be tracked.
Yeah, and in
So-
the minute or so we have left, Kara and John, explain that Mitch McConnell thing to us, because that provides another factor. Because, of course, McConnell is from whiskey country, and these guys do not want any of these alternative medicines out there, and they have a vested interest in that. But McConnell started the ball rolling on the federal level on this, right?
He started the ball rolling. He got a $950,000 donation to his campaign fund. He's not running for re-election, so I don't know why he got the money in there. And then this was slipped into the funding bill to open the government. It wasn't heard in committee. It wasn't anything. It was backdoored in there after receiving $950,000 from a large distiller, global distiller.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, folks, go to slaphappy.com, and that's where you can get all the info on what Kara and John have. It's really a cool place. I mean, based on the pictures I've seen, I've got to stop by there out in beautiful Rosebud. I hear also Rosebud has some pretty cool antique stores, and it's a nice little town. There you guys are in your Cardinal outfit, your Cardinal shirts. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's right.
Right out in front there. And John, thank you so much for your service. We really appreciate you. We're thankful for that.
And Kara's too, Jamie. Kara's a vet too.
I did not know that, Kara. Thank you for your service as well. I was just going to thank you for being an all-around great person, but on top of that, you're also a veteran. So this is a veteran-owned business, and really very cool, and so thankful that your son is doing all right, and I'm really happy to hear that. And I'm glad you guys. I really appreciate you taking the time out. It means a lot, and I think this is. I've talked to a few people, and it looks like voices are starting to be heard. So you're one of them. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you too.
All right. You're welcome. That is Kara and John Grady, and just great people. And I want to make sure, in full disclosure, that this is part of. I'm being basically I'm a lobbyist, so I'm with working for the Hemp Association, everything else. But I will tell you, like I said yesterday, a lot of these issues I'm working on are public policy issues, and I actually wouldn't be part of it if I didn't really truly believe in the public policy excellence of this particular issue and the other issues I'm working on. So it's not like I'm just going to step up on anything, but I'm really proud to be part of this, especially some of the other bills too that are helping veterans and things like that. So I'm working with we're helping Grunt Style with the psilocybin legislation, all that kind of stuff. So everything in my estimation is a worthwhile cause, and so I'm really honored to do that. But I want to make sure you knew that I have a vested interest in this, aside from just simply having my heart in it as well. So just so you know. All right, people. Good afternoon this afternoon. We'll follow up on all of what's going on. I'm telling you, people keep saying, how come we haven't seen the new Ayatollah? How come we haven't seen him? Is he injured? Is he this? You guys have to know there's a real obvious reason why we're not seeing him, right? We'll follow up on all things Iran and in the rest of the world coming up on the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Window World time, and I have to tell you, I'm going to hit up my buddy John Gillette. I've got a couple of windows. Actually, to tell you the truth, it's kind of cute because one window that I have at the house was broken by Aiden when he was 14 years old. And he broke it with a what do they call that, with the sticks and the ball? I don't know, lacrosse ball went right into the window. But it was a double pane window, so there was only one window part was broken. But I hadn't fixed it. That's how lazy I am. So finally, I'm going to get that replaced by Window World and John Gillette. I'm going to be super happy about that. I have another window that is broken too that needs to be fixed, and so Window World is the #1 replacement window in the country. Qualified Remodeler magazine says it is the top seller in the country, and that's because remodelers love this. And a lot of the houses I've been into, as I'm showing as a real estate agent, have been really pretty amazing because they always, almost invariably, use the Window World window brand. I can see it. I can see the Window World stamp right on the pane there, and it is really very cool. And so I'm like, oh, I know those guys. It's fantastic. And so for you, if you're not a remodeler, for a replacement window, this is the top rated window. It's got one of 2 windows in the country with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. So that is really super important as well. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, it is double paned, thermally superior to all of the rest. So it's going to save you on your cooling bills as you go into the summer and your heating bills as you go into the winter. And strong as an ox, you're going to get a free in-home estimate, of course. And when the person comes in, go ahead and ask them to stand on the window. They will not break the window, and it has a lifetime warranty covering all parts, glass breakage, and labor. So they're also offering 36 months same as cash financing with approved credit. So here you go, 800 get windows, 800 get windows. It's Window World.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
Want to work with a winner? Follow the multiplier. 279 times growth in total market cap in the past nearly 30 years. 50 times growth in client assets. And ranked the #1 wealth management firm for employee advisor satisfaction by J.D. Power 3 years in a row. Choose a winner. Choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE. For J.D. Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here.
Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1.
And always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
The Allman Report, sponsored by Window World, 800 Get Windows.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here with you, and Ashton over there. We've got Maduro appearing in court up there in New York. Ashton, I'm not kidding when I say that reporter looks like a fashion model.
She was pretty. Yes.
I'm not kidding. I'm like, what are you doing on Newsmax and not the cover of Cosmo? Maybe she has been on the cover of Cosmo. But that was kind of like striking, kind of in your face type of thing, you know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, aside from that, we have the Iranian Navy chief who has been killed, as well as the head of the intelligence director, whatever the hell those mullahs call it. And this Navy chief, I always remember, because I know that Vic and Ken always do that, hello, Navy chief, or whatever that that is, Navy chief. I'm wondering if I was busy this morning, but I wonder if they did that when they heard the Navy chief was killed. We have to Vic and Ken, if you didn't do it today, you go ahead and use that drop tomorrow when you explain that the Navy chief is dead. And this is the guy who is responsible for closing the Strait of Hormuz. And it's kind of crazy because on Wednesday, which would be yesterday, he was beating his chest about how you better have permission to come through here because I'm not letting you through unless Iran we give you permission. And then Israel just liquefied the guy. And so he is dead. And you know what's interesting, too? I was thinking about this with the Strait of Hormuz, that it's really odd how, and maybe it's because I'm not much in the way of common geography or whatever, but it's kind of weird that we only have one passageway for the whole world in terms of food and oil and all that stuff. And I don't know how the hell Iran got, the upper hand on that thing, because that's just is crazy to think about. So I just don't understand why there wasn't another way. But then of course, I also realize that there are probably some people screaming at the radio because I sound like a ditz. How come there's not another way? They're like, come on, look at the map, and you'll see. So I'm leaving open the possibility that I sound infuriatingly misinformed, or let's say uninformed. But anyway, it just kind of does occur to me on a common sense level. Hey, how come we don't have another way that we can deliver food to the world? Anyway, in other war news, and Slap Happy Hemp Company, thank you very much for coming onto the Facebook page as well. Love you guys and appreciate you. So, you guys know my feelings about the Ukraine war and the money that we're spending on it, and what a sin it is that we opened up the Treasury to help Zelensky, who is a criminal fascist dictator, a thief, and an overall bad guy. Is Putin a bad guy too? Yeah, I guess. Sure. He is. But Zelensky's not much better. This whole thing that involves us trying in some way, shape, or form to get some end or negotiated end to all of this has been stymied by Zelensky for the most part. And the fact of the matter is, Zelensky, when you look right into it, doesn't really have an interest in ending the war. You know why? Because if he does, he'll have to hold elections. And Zelensky has shut down elections. He has closed some media operations there in Ukraine. And so he's a dictator by any definition. And we just keep on shoving money to him all day long. You'll notice that at the beginning of the whole thing, you had all the people with their Facebook pages had the Ukraine flag, which is apparently gone. It's like, how come you don't have your Ukraine flag up on your Facebook avatar anymore? That's odd. And I haven't seen too many lawmakers wearing their Ukrainian flag pins. Have you? Yeah. So they're busy shelling out, draining our tax dollars, everything else to go over to Ukraine. Zelensky keeps coming to the White House with his hand open and everything else. He's like the little boy in like Tiny Tim. Can I have another? Can you give me another? Yeah, whatever. So anyway, he's annoying, and this makes it even more annoying because it turns out that is extremely alarming news, is what they're calling it. Just the News is reporting that the Ukrainian government discussed a plan to transfer hundreds of millions of dollars to Joe Biden's ill-fated re-election campaign and the Democratic National Committee. These messages were apparently intercepted by U.S. intelligence. So these guys were able to get U.S. intelligence, were able to talk to each other and try to get Joe Biden or whoever was going to replace him reelected. And this situation has been now discovered and uncovered. The scheme involved using hundreds of millions of U.S. dollars of so-called clean energy that were supposed to help the country and instead reward Trump's enemies. Tulsi Gabbard is aware of these intercepts and has ordered U.S. agencies of international development, USAID, to determine whether the plot was carried out and if this matter should be criminally referred to the FBI. So this is really a big deal, and this is a situation where if the Democrat Party did indeed receive money, the Democratic National Committee did in fact receive dollars, this might be the kind of racketeering situation that we need to finally destroy the Democrat Party and finally get to the point where where they're on their way to obscurity. So that is an important thing, but that's a big deal. And so this is reported by Just the News, and they basically had a discussion. It was ultimately intercepted, and that's how it all went. So and then before we get to, we're going to take a break and get to the Show Me Institute at that point. But this is going crazy. This is all over the internet now. There's a homeowner in Cambridge, Maryland, who called ICE on a roofing crew that she hired. And so the roofing crew was on her roof. She hired the roofing company knowing that they hired illegal aliens, and then called ICE after they were finished with the roof.
Nos rodearon.
And so literally they're all kind of like they're done with the roof. They're on top of the roof. There's some ladders and stuff there, and so there are 6 of them, 6 Guatemalan illegals working on the crew, and ICE came and got them while they were standing on the roof. They made them come down and. Yeah, so that's what they did, and I don't know whether she. Now I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't like the idea of not paying people, but the fact of the matter is, it is kind of funny if she went ahead and let them finish the roof, because you never want to pay somebody before they finish the job anyway, right? You don't do that, right? So there's a strong possibility that they finish the job and then she's just going to say, I'm not paying because they're on. You hired illegals. But yeah, she waited until they finished the roof to call ICE. Well, turnabout, fair play, all that kind of stuff. It's Common Sense Radio. Mr. Stokes is on the way from the Show Me Institute. It's Common Sense Radio. The 3 Martini Lunch continues.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. We keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about Grasser Home Services. Grasser Home Services. And the reason why you're thinking, well, I used to hear you say Grasser Electric, grasserelectric.com. Well, you can still go to grasserelectric.com, but we say Home Services now because they have plumbers. They have plumbers who may someday even become U.S. senators, plumbers who might even become ultimately members of the cabinet of an esteemed president. You never know, because that's what plumbers are all about, man. They know everything. They're smart guys. They're good guys. And I want to make sure you know the worst thing you can do is have the plumber be your second call. Okay? The first call ought to be to Grasser Electric, because then you don't have to try to do it yourself, and then suddenly you're calling. I know. I could do it myself. It's like, no, you need to have. Sometimes it's even required that you have a plumber do it. I know there's a lot of that stuff when I'm doing the home market deal, but these guys are great, and Grasser has added that. Shane's been a longtime friend of mine, more than 20 years, and now Josh, his son, and of course you've heard Shane's grandson Barrett and Josh's son Barrett on the radio here. The Good to See You Kid. Yep, exactly. And they're great people. And so this has been a kind of a family affair with Common Sense Radio, and I'm really proud to say that. Grasser Electric, of course, I've been using them countless times, and Sean is my guy who I use on a regular basis, and he does a great job. It's always good, especially as we're getting into springtime and you're trying to just finally fix some stuff here and there. If you have a list, have Grasser tackle the list. No job too big or no job too small. Also, you know what happens. We're getting into May, and you know what happens with some of those storms we have in May, everything else. And you don't want to be without power. Grasser specializes in this really great brand of backup generator. It comes in a variety of different colors, too, to match your house and add to that discretion. You never know going to know it's there until you actually have power, and some of the other folks do not. So go ahead, do something for your family on this one with the Grasser Electric backup generator. Proud supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio for a long time. Grasser Home Services, grasserelectric.com.
Ronald Reagan once famously said, "Government is not the solution, government is the problem." When it comes to economic growth, government can be a roadblock. With red tape, regulations, and subsidies, government stifles entrepreneurship and also props up businesses that deserve to go under. Unlike government, free markets encourage risk-taking, freedom to succeed or fail. Governments shouldn't be picking winners and losers, the market should. Free markets benefit the business owner and the customer by encouraging competition. Free Market enabled a young man named J.C. Hall selling picture postcards in Kansas City to turn his idea into Hallmark cards. In St. Louis, the Free Market made it possible for Adolphus Busch to turn his father-in-law's local beer into the world's largest brewery. A free market also means you get to send your kids to the school of your choice. Learn more about free markets at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story. Only by God's grace, most of us didn't die for stupid things when we were kids.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Buckingham Pest Control and Insulation.
I feel so close to you right now. It's a force field. I wear my heart up on my sleeve like a big deal. Your love pours down on me.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy opening day to all of you and yours. It's Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch. Just got a message from Spectrum. It says St. Louis Cardinals games will now air on MLB St. Louis Cardinals channel. Yesterday I was like, man, gone are the days we just turn on channel 11 and there it is, or whatever. It's like, and it's part of the Cardinals' problem, People sometimes don't really know who's who and everything else because basically every time they play, you got to root around and find out where you can watch them. It's just really kind of crazy, but that's just the way of the world, and that's how it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, also the way of the world is an addiction to taxes, to property taxes, to upping taxes, to earnings taxes. And thank goodness for the likes of David Stokes and, of course, the esteemed Show Me Institute, because they're right there watching out for us. David Stokes, welcome to the show. How you doing, brother?
Well, I mean, it's as you've said a few times, it's the 3 martini lunch, and I'm like way behind on you, Jamie. Like I feel terrible. I haven't even started.
Well,
I need some martini catching up to do quickly.
You can catch up. The game starts in an hour, so there you go, man. You're ready to go. So first we have the fire and ambulance district sales taxes all throughout the area here. What exactly is going on with those?
Well, and you are right. It is all throughout the area. I think just about every fire district or ambulance district, with only a few exceptions in your listening audience, on the Missouri side at least, has a sales tax increase on the ballot. This was the result of a legislative change last year that both took out the counties where fire districts were prohibited from having sales taxes, like St. Louis County, and said that they can, and also increased the maximum sales tax from 0.5% to 1%. So like in St. Charles County, for instance, they have this countywide ambulance district separate from the fire district. They have a 1% sales tax on the ballot. Every fire district in the county has a 1% sales tax on the ballot. If the St. Charles voters approve both of these, the average St. Charles sales tax is going to go from about 8% to about 10%, like in a day.
Wow!
When they vote this, so it is a very large sales tax increases. And then while the numbers are a little smaller in the rest of the area, throughout St. Louis County and Jefferson County and Franklin County, you've got all these fire and ambulance district sales taxes, and I think it's very poorly timed. First of all, I think property taxes are the best way to fund these services. For ambulance districts especially, which you don't have that everywhere, but you have that in St. Charles County and Jefferson County. I mean, the ambulance districts make a lot of their money by billing the people they move. Like they don't even depend only on taxes for ambulances. Like they send out a bill when you use their service. So now they don't want just property taxes. They also want sales taxes on top of the fact that they bill every time somebody uses it. So I mean, so it's a little crazy. And yes, in fairness, I'll point out that if these sales tax increases pass, that the fire and ambulance districts have to roll back their property taxes somewhat, but your tax burden still increases. You don't have to roll back the property taxes to equal the new sales tax. You just have to do about half of it. And that's if they all do it properly, which I don't believe they will. So you're still going to have a significant tax burden on these tax increases for things that should be paid by property taxes to start with. So I think it's a really bad idea throughout the whole region.
Yeah, I would say the sales tax itself is already shockingly high. I mean, to me, 8% is still pretty darn high. I mean, and at 10%, my goodness gracious, that's just man, that's hard. That's hard to swallow.
And Jamie, that's just the average sort of baseline tax in St. Charles County. It's even higher in St. Louis. But that doesn't include, every shopping center in both counties, plus Jefferson County, plus probably most of Franklin, every actual shopping center has a transportation development district tax or a community improvement tax. So anywhere you actually go to shop, you're always going to pay an extra 1% to 2% in these corporate welfare schemes on top of that. So it's getting really high, and I see all these signs promoting these sales taxes all around the area, and they all lead with reduce your property tax. Like they're all so I just want your listeners to know the total tax burden will increase. Like the property tax cut on it is modest. Your tax burden is going up, and if you're especially in St. Charles County, it might go up a lot. So voters need to know this.
Yeah, it's crazy too. I don't know how many times I've been someplace and I'll buy something and they'll get something and then you think it's one price and then suddenly that'll be blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you got what? I'm like, how did that happen? How did that go so high? And that's your sales tax and all the other nonsense there. And so these ambulance districts and these guys, listen, the thing is they're really in that position because everybody respects these first responders, and the fire departments and the ambulance people and all that kind of stuff. And so, you kind of feel guilty when you're not really, when you're maybe not helping first responders. But I'm trying to figure out, what do they ever have to kind of state what their need is and what the problem is and why they need the tax hike, or they just throw it up there?
Well, you're dead right that everybody does want to support them, and they should be supported, and they should get good salaries and good benefits and fair pensions, and they do have all of that. But I have a blog up at showmeinstitute.org about all these fire and ambulance district sales taxes, and it shows the chart that an economist prepared several years ago. Just if you look at the decline in fires over the past 50, 60 years and the increase in firemen and firemen spending, it forms an X as one goes way down and the other goes way up. Ambulances are actually what we fund these departments for primarily, responding to accidents and home calls and the like.
Yeah.
That's the vast majority of the work. But again, ambulances bill for their services. They might not always collect if they pick up a homeless person or they pick up somebody with no insurance. They might not always collect, and that's why they should get backstopped by some level of property tax or existing half-cent sales taxes, as they are backstopped. But the idea that they just keep deserving higher taxes on top of everything else, I think it's crazy, and it's going to be because people do have a correct natural inclination to want to support those services. It's going to be interesting how these votes work out.
Yeah, and don't get the police department started on the fire and ambulance districts. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why.
That's the last thing we need is.
Well, no, what I'm saying is
independent policing districts. That's the last thing we need.
What I'm saying is the police departments are all rolling their eyes, because you know how that whole thing is. There's a reason why there's guns and hoses, So a lot of these police departments hear the fire departments wanting more money. They're like, come on, guys, So, all right. So what about the St. Louis City earnings tax? I mean, I remember when I was working at Channel 4 having to pay it, and oftentimes because I did most of my work actually outside of the city, I'd always try to get a refund. Because I, as a reporter, I was rarely in the actual city of St. Louis, but I thought that was already taken care of. No?
Well, no. What we have now is, and this law was passed by a statewide vote about 15 years ago. They said no more cities can have an earnings tax. Thankfully, that probably wasn't going to happen anyway. But no more other than St. Louis and Kansas City can have it. And every 5 years, voters have to reauthorize it, and this is at 5 years in both St. Louis and Kansas City, which voters unfortunately do overwhelmingly because, of course, if you give somebody a chance to say, hey, we're going to make those other people, those commuters, pay for a lot of our stuff, I mean, of course they're going to say yes. So it's frustrating because the earnings tax does actively harm the economic situation, the population growth, business growth, overall income. It harms all of that in the city of St. Louis, but the politicians and voters don't have any desire to make the hard choices to phase it out. It's important to remind people that on the wonderful yet unlikely chance that voters would vote the earnings tax out, it doesn't go away overnight. It's phased out over 10 years where the city can make a lot of changes, including higher alternative taxes that harm the economy less, but also spending cuts or service sharing, whatever it may be. They have plenty of time to make that change. Most cities do not have an earnings tax. I want to shout this till the cows come home. Most large cities don't have earnings taxes. Most small cities don't have them. They're not a good way to fund local government, and St. Louis shouldn't do it. Yet it's become reliant on them, and there seems no will in the city of St. Louis for the voters to say, well, let's stop taxing those commuters and those visitors and the like. They want the money.
I bet you Nashville doesn't have one. All right, so
they do. They absolutely do not, and that's one of the reasons why Nashville, they don't have any local income taxes in Tennessee, and they don't have any state income taxes in Tennessee, and that's one of the reasons why Tennessee is growing so much more economically growing faster than Missouri over the past several decades.
That's why you see all those cranes in the sky. That's how you do it.
Absolutely.
So real quickly, though, too, and then we have this O'Fallon economic development sales tax. And the reality is, as we're talking about all these taxes, it's so interesting how, unlike you and me, like when we have an economic challenge, we have to figure out like what we're going to do. So we have to figure out, well, okay, so maybe I'm not going to get Starbucks or something, but whatever, I'm not going to go out to eat every day or whatever. I'm going to bring my own lunch. I'm going to do all this kind of stuff. Governments don't seem to have any kind of challenge or self-reflection when it comes to maybe they need to cut their budgets instead of constantly, because when I'm having a financial challenge, I just can't go over to my neighbor's house and take their money. I have to figure out a different way to do it, and they never really have that burden of having to be creative with how they spend money.
Well, absolutely. And this O'Fallon economic development sales tax is just a terrible idea. I like to say this is one of the worst taxes this is probably the worst tax in the state of Missouri, this local economic development sales tax, because even other awful taxes like the earnings tax, which hurt the city, at least they fund legitimate purposes of government. This economic development sales tax just funds a fund for the city to then grant out as corporate welfare. Like it's funding something they shouldn't even do. It just becomes sort of a bottomless pit of them to hand out handouts to companies that ask for it. So it's a bad idea from the start, and it's a bad ending what happens to it. Now, O'Fallon says they're not going to turn it into corporate welfare. I don't really believe them in the long run, especially. But they say they want to use it for expand their water infrastructure right away. So let me just say that sales taxes are a terrible way to fund your water infrastructure. Like if you need more water infrastructure in O'Fallon, let's assume they do, they should pay it out of water bills. They should issue water bonds to pay by water users to fund it. That's how we pay for electricity and water and roads through gas taxes.
Yeah.
By user fees to the largest extent possible. This idea that you have a sales tax to capture money from out-of-city visitors to fund O'Fallon's water needs is just atrocious public policy.
No doubt about it. David Stokes, showmeinstitute.org. Check out his blog. David, always good to talk to you, man. Thanks for the great info.
Jamie, always enjoy it. I'll get started on those martinis so I can catch up with you
right on
here on opening day.
All right. He'll be plenty lathered up for Tony Colombo and Colombo & Company, which is straight ahead. David, thank you so much. Ashland, thank you. And you all have a great and blessed rest of your day. Really appreciate you listening to the show, as always. It's Common Sense Radio.
Cardinal Nation, it's time to paint the town red.
Opening day of Cardinal baseball at Busch Stadium.
And there's nothing else like it.
It's a St. Louis tradition.
Two things define St. Louis: Cardinal baseball and News Talk STL.
Play ball!
Cardinal baseball opening day, March 26th, backed by our hometown favorites, Dushan High School, Freddy's Market, and D. Gregorio's Food Products.
Cardinal baseball!
Hey there, News Talk friends. Chris Cooper here, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management. Joining us in the Serenity Wealth Now studio this weekend, we have special guests Ken and Jen with the Showcase Lawn and Landscaping Company. We're going to talk a little bit about the nutrients your lawn needs to have a successful and thriving season this year. So tune in Sunday morning, 9 a.m. right here on News Talk STL, or check us out on Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
I've got Dr. Michael Lewis here, West Point graduate, physician, and retired Army colonel.
is considered the world's leading expert on the use of omega-3s for traumatic brain injury and concussions. Stuart Tomp brings over 30 years of experience in the supplement industry, brought $1 billion of products to the market, and has appeared in over 6,000 media interviews worldwide, and travels internationally and teaches on health.
Stuart Tomk here, and I've come across the biggest breakthrough in personalized nutrition I've seen in 25 years.
Dr. Lewis here. You know, for the first time, we can measure cellular and gut health. So you can start testing and